Okay, let's jump right in. A big happy 20th birthday to Proxmox.
20 years. That's quite something in the tech world, isn't it?
It really is. We're talking about Proxmox VE, the open source virtualization platform. The one that's become such a go-to for IT folks and, well, a huge favorite for home lab builders like us.
Absolutely. It's a real cornerstone for many. And with the 20th anniversary rolling around in 2025, the online communities, they're just buzzing. Lots of happy birthday messages.
Totally buzzing. So that got us thinking. For today's deep dive, we really wanted to explore why. What's made Proxmox stick around and stay so relevant for 2 whole decades?
Right. We've been looking at a lot of what users are saying, their experiences, how the platform itself has changed.
Yeah, pulling from all sorts of places, reflecting that enthusiasm and tracking the milestones.
So the mission today is basically to unpack what makes Proxmox such, well, a beloved tool. What does its journey tell us about making tech that lasts and maybe just as importantly, building a community that lasts?
Exactly, and I think the best place to start is with that community aspect.
Agreed. Let's go back to the beginning. 2005, Proxmox launches. And the key thing, it was a free open source alternative.
Right, an alternative to things like VMware ESXi, which was and still is a major player, but, comes with a price tag.
Precisely. So Proxmox immediately tapped into this need for something powerful but accessible, flexible, without those licensing costs hanging over you.
And you really feel that connection when you look at the anniversary comments online now. It's not just happy birthday.
No, not at all. There's real substance there.
Like we saw this one comment, someone saying 20 years of uptime, 0 kernel panics. Here's to 20 more Proxmox.
Wow. Okay, that's a serious testament to reliability right there.
Isn't it? That's not just a casual user. That sounds like someone who depends on it.
And it highlights that trust.
Right.
Achieving that kind of stability, especially in open source, often points back to a strong community effort. People finding bugs, testing, contributing.
Uh-huh. And it's funny, some people seem genuinely surprised it's that old.
Yeah, we saw that too. Someone was like, Proxmox is a lot older than I'd expected. Happy birthday.
Which kind of suggests it doesn't feel old, right? It's kept evolving, stayed fresh.
Exactly. It hasn't stagnated, which points to ongoing development, keeping pace with technology.
And this isn't just passive use. There's real loyalty. We found examples, actual users saying they pay for the community subscription.
Even though they don't have to?
Right, because it's free software. One person, a homelabber, said, I gave them at least 1 year of payment, community subscription. I felt they earned it at a minimum.
That's fascinating. That willingness to pay for something free, it shows how much value people perceive. They want to support it.
Yeah, they feel it's earned its keep, basically.
And that support, well, it directly fuels Proxmox's ability to keep going, to keep improving. It's a really neat cycle.
Which, leads us perfectly into this whole idea of free innovation. It's not just free as in beer, right?
Not at all. It's free as in freedom, too. Open source. That's fundamental.
And they bundle in these really powerful enterprise-level features, things like clustering.
Yeah, linking multiple servers together for redundancy.
High availability, so VMs can fail over automatically.
And ZFS support, which is huge for data management and integrity.
All without hitting a paywall like you often do with the commercial options. You really feel the appreciation in comments like, happy birthday! Congratulations for all you have achieved while still being a free solution for homelabbers.
It's a smart strategy, honestly, because it's built on KVM virtualization, which is part of the Linux kernel, and Linux itself. Well, that's a rock-solid foundation.
Yeah, someone commented simply, yes, KVM Linux is a great system. Can't argue with that.
And because it's open source on that stable base, it appeals to, well, everyone. From students messing around at home to serious IT departments.
And that wide appeal means more feedback, more eyes on the code, more contributions back to the project.
Plus, the hardware flexibility is a massive plus. You don't need bleeding-edge, expensive servers to get started.
Right. People run it on old desktops, and you see Raspberry Pis sometimes up to, proper rack servers. It really lowers the barrier for just trying stuff out.
Exactly. It lets people innovate without a huge upfront cost.
And they haven't just sat still. They keep adding things. Like, people seem really positive about the Proxmox backup server.
Oh yeah, PBS gets mentioned a lot. A dedicated, integrated backup solution. That was a smart addition.
And people even get nostalgic, remembering their first installs like good times with PVE4. It shows a history and evolution.
It does. It demonstrates that commitment to not just maintaining, but actively improving and expanding what Proxmox can do, often based on what the community is asking for.
It really feels like it unlocked something for a lot of people, especially, the home lab crowd.
Definitely. Suddenly you can run complex setups, media servers, testing environments, even virtualized gaming rigs, things that might have seemed out of reach before.
We saw one comment that was pretty profound, actually. Someone said, "Thank you for improving society, especially for IT people."
Wow. That's big praise.
It is. But maybe not totally off base. By making this tech accessible, it helps people learn, skill up, experiment.
It absolutely democratizes access to powerful tools.
Yeah.
You don't need enterprise budgets to learn enterprise skills, essentially, which fosters, a deeper understanding for users.
And you see that personal side, too, like someone noting they almost have the same birthday as Proxmox. Little things like that show it's more than just code.
Or recalling their first PISTI E4 install fondly. It
Yeah.
becomes part of their personal tech story.
And again, the surprise about its age, thinking it was maybe 10 years old.
It speaks volumes about how current it feels, the interface, the regular updates.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a 20-year-old platform.
So that modern feel comes from that continuous development, right?
Yeah.
Driven by the community.
Largely, yes. Listening to user needs, adding things like better backup options, improving the LXC container support.
Which is that lighter weight virtualization.
Exactly. All these refinements contribute to why so many people call it the best VE, virtual environment out there for their needs.
And underpinning all of this has to be reliability. That's maybe the defining trait people mention.
That 20 years uptime, zero kernel panics quote comes back to mind. While maybe not universal, it reflects a core strength.
Yeah, someone else just put it as well-deserved 20 years. Simple, but says a lot.
It does. And that reliability is crucial whether you're running a business on it.
Where downtime costs money.
Right. Or if you're just tinkering in your home lab and you don't want your experiments constantly crashing because the platform itself is flaky.
Peace of mind, basically.
Exactly. It lets you focus on what you're doing with the virtualization, not fighting the virtualization itself.
And the hardware thing helps here too, right? Being reliable across different gear.
Definitely. Knowing it runs well on everything from, say, super micro enterprise gear down to consumer grade stuff means you can trust it regardless of your budget or setup.
Which explains the enthusiasm in comments like, "Congrats, keep moving. Proxmox is the best VE."
And it brings us back to that community subscription model again. It's not just charity.
No, it feels like users see it as investing in that continued reliability and innovation.
Precisely. That quote, "I felt they earned it," sums it up. It's a recognition of the value they're getting, and they want to ensure it continues. It reflects a really healthy relationship between the project and its users.
So looking ahead, what's the feeling? People seem pretty optimistic.
Very much so. There's excitement, like we said, around things like Proxmox Backup Server gaining traction. The community is vibrant and active.
Yeah, that wish we saw. Hope it will continue for the next 20 years and more. That seems to capture the general feeling.
And, Proxmox's whole story is a fantastic case study. It really shows how open source can go head-to-head with massive proprietary companies.
And often win, at least in terms of user loyalty and arguably value.
Right. By sticking to that free open model, but still delivering incredibly robust features, they've carved out this major niche. They're deeply respected.
And the wider impact. Maybe the person talking about improving society wasn't exaggerating.
Well, think about it. By empowering all these homelabbers, students, tinkerers, it's undoubtedly helping to train and inspire future IT professionals. It lowers the barrier to entry for learning critical skills.
Good point. It's an enabler for learning and innovation on a massive scale.
So, when you boil it down, Proxmox's 20-year run comes down to what? Community, free innovation, constant evolution, and just rock-solid reliability.
A winning combo. It's democratized virtualization for so many people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fostered this amazing ecosystem.
Okay, so wrapping up our celebration of Proxmox at 20,
Oh.
here's something to think about. We've seen how this open source, community-driven model has thrived in virtualization. What does that tell us about the power of this approach versus the big closed source players, and maybe more broadly? What other areas of technology, maybe areas currently dominated by expensive proprietary tools, could really benefit from a similar Proxmox-style revolution? Where else could free access and community power really shake things up?
That's a great question to ponder. Where else is that kind of disruption needed?